Welcome to today's episode of CLCI Live, brought to you by the award-winning and ICF accredited school, Certified Life Coach Institute. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. It's Tuesday.
That is the day. Those of you out there watching, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and also join in on the conversation. We want to hear from you. We do this because we do this live so that we can hear from you. So please don't be afraid to talk to us. We encourage it even.
No way. No, I'm just kidding.
So we do. Just leave a comment in the chat. We are monitoring to the best of our ability, and we will respond to you. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can be here to be a part of the conversation and be alerted to our videos and all the amazing things going on with us at CLCI. Forbes choice for one of the best places to get certified.
Yes.
All right. Now that I'm done with that madness, let's go ahead and talk about today's topic. That means you guys. I can only talk for so long before I'm annoying.
We are talking about Leadership Coaching 101. We talked last week about the leader as a coach. This week we're talking about expectation and the leadership paradox. What's a paradox?
Two conflicting held beliefs, I believe. Something like that.
Something that's a little absurd, something that's probably a contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know of any paradoxes in real life? Any examples of it? I guess you couldn't.
Yes, I've got one.
Oh, go.
The last time I had a fever, I enjoyed it. That's got to be a paradox, right? Like I had a lot of stuff happening in my brain that had not ever happened before. I was thinking all these great thoughts. I was telling my husband about how excited I was about all this stuff. He was like, Jen, you're sick. You need to rest. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel awesome. I don't know why I randomly shared that, but
So you're both unwell and well at the same time.
Yes,
Okay,
that is it.
That's paradoxical.
I like to call it a paradox myself.
Paradoxical.
Paradox.
But it's two things that do not, jumbo shrimp. Two things that aren't typically in contradiction with one another. The best, worst. I don't know. What else could we think of? An evil angel.
This sentence is a lie.
What? Oh, what, Anthony?
This sentence is a lie.
This sentence is a lie.
This sentence is a lie.
Well, why is that a paradox?
Well, is it a lie or am I telling the truth when I say this sentence is a lie?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
If it was true, then it wouldn't be a lie.
So
But if I was lying, then it would be true.
Oh my goodness.
Here's one. Absolutes are a logical fallacy, or absolutes never exist.
That's an absolute statement, which is paradoxical.
Which
Only
makes
Sith deal in absolutes.
What?
Only Sith deal in absolutes.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know
What
that
about
that's
the
fair.
old saying, hell is frozen over?
Kind of.
Only further
That's
over.
Well, that just changes the definition of hell. That's just saying hell.
So I just pulled some up, and I've got some. Save money by spending it.
Yes, that is definitely one. And that might be, so, I mean, we have a whole bunch of these we're going to be going through as well. But really, as it applies to leadership, because as a leader, we are often sort of dealing in a lot of paradoxes when we are working with leaders as well as leading ourselves.
People
So
have paradoxical expectations of a leader.
they do.
People are going to want different things from you that are going to seem irrevocable. No, something like that. Yes. So we also have Acme event coming up soon.
I know. I'm so
Yes.
excited for our Acme event. That's
We're
so
so
good.
For
excited.
alumni.
Tickets go on sale on Friday.
Yes,
Alumni
they're gonna sell out. So get your tickets on Friday.
Yeah, we should talk a little bit about that at the end of this, just so we can just have a little moment for people who want to know more.
Mhm.
Maybe we can edit it and put it out there too, whatever we say, into social, etc. Normally we have Sam here to do that for us, but Sam is on vacation, so. So Anthony, you brought something up before we started to dive into what these paradoxes might be, that you said that people might have paradoxical expectations of our leaders. I would also go as far as to say that the leaders might have paradoxical expectations of themselves, or perceived paradoxical expectations of themselves in their role. Do we want to go down the list of some of our paradoxical
Let's just
leadership traits?
let's just go for it.
Shall we? Okay. I'm pulling this from a Harvard Business Review article. Some of these that we used as research, so we can always pop that source in there later. But here's an example of one. Are we managing today for tomorrow? Which I think this is a huge thing in leadership. If you're anybody who is a leader, man, that is a thing, right? We got to get everything done today. We got our day-to-day ops that is taking our time away. But how we can often lose sight of what we want to do down the road because we get wrapped up in those day-to-day ops, in those things that just keep the balls rolling, that just keep us afloat. And it becomes a scary balance of how do we make time for growth, for opportunity, for change until it's forced on us, right? But the ability to be, proactive has to come from carving time out of today for tomorrow.
I think that one, for a lot of bigger companies, I think maybe that problem's easy to solve because you just get a COO to handle the day-to-day operations. You just get someone else to worry about that for you, and then you can focus on like the future stuff.
Yeah, but yes, in an ideal world, but the reality is that comes with also carving out a budget, right? You could just get, like that, and we have to. And even in those big companies, there has to be finding a balance, I think, too, right? There's a reason that you can't just do everything immediately. In an ideal world, yes, maybe even the ones with billions of dollars, but I think even they have to answer to shareholders and all kinds of things. So it's a process regardless. How do you guys feel about the managing today for tomorrow? Even coming from the perspective of CLC, all of you are managers in your own right. So what are your thoughts there?
Would you say managing today for tomorrow, or today or for tomorrow? Is that what you're saying?
I'm managing for today. For today or for tomorrow, essentially.
There you go.
Thank you.
Because I was kind of like, you kind of said the answer already, which is managing today for tomorrow. That's just kind of the answer, but we'll stick to the dichotomy of the two from now. It can get tough to not focus on today, and Jen is looking at the cats.
I know, me too.
Gosh, that was so cute.
Yeah, they do that. Because as the moment you start procrastinating, the moment you start putting stuff off, the stuff that you have to do today, the big list of that stuff just keeps piling up and piling up, and it can get overwhelming to even consider that there might be, two options or more than one option or both options.
I can bring up an example outside of even procrastination. Things just have to take their process. For example, with Acme, kind of promoting when tickets are going to go on sale, but we cannot do that all in the same day. We can't promote that tickets are going to go on sale and then have them go on sale. I mean, we could, but that probably isn't the greatest idea for you to go ahead to market the day of and then go ahead and have them go. You probably want to have a little bit of hype behind that. So there's some instances where you do have to do it just to have a process that works out well for you.
And I'll say this, doing Acme at all, right? We didn't set out to do Acme to make a ton of money or anything along those lines, right? But it's one of those things that we thought would be really valuable to people and our people. So truthfully, it is something that adds value, but it's something that we have carved time, energy, and resources out of the day to day.
Yeah.
In the hopes that it's going to work, in the hopes that it's going to happen. And like, we don't know exactly. Right. And I mean, honestly, we're doing this because we want to do this for people and not, as like a big ticket kind of thing. Right. This is something that we think will be really beneficial for and so it's a weird balance, right? We are making time for this, but like we have a something we're unrolling or revealing, which is our level 1 through ICF, and we've got to get that out. But we've had to set that aside for Acme, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like knowing and budgeting time is something that is tough to do and can be stressful. It can be super stressful. Phones ringing when you're working on a project.
But we have good teamwork. Like I've been answering as many calls as possible so Jerome can work on Acme. Like we know where the priority is, where each other has the time and the capacity. So yeah, I mean, we are maintaining both the day-to-day and prepping for this event, I think, pretty seamlessly because of it.
I can imagine a lot of situations where we have a client come in and they feel like they are stuck so much in the day-to-day that they aren't capable of thinking of tomorrow.
Right.
And I think that is very common for a lot of folks. I want to do this. I want to grow this. I want to, et cetera, boom, boom, boom. But I can't get out of getting all my things done.
Or conversely, I mean, it certainly can be, I'm thinking about only tomorrow and not getting my today done. Yeah, as well. And what things are falling apart today because I'm focusing too much on that. And so it's about achieving balance. And I think if we are coaches and we're coaching a leader, that is something that could be a very honest and real topic and something we have to deal with. Jerome and I and Anthony had a client that became a coach that when we had our marketing company, whose entire platform was built around time management for leaders, essentially, and getting them to figure out how to manage their time for business and personal and everything, and micromanaging so they can have time for a life, have time for tomorrow, have time for the things they want and need. So I think it's a very fantastic sort of niche and realm that if anybody who's leadership coaching could work in. Another one, we'll skip that one, that is on here is, let's see. Oh, that's a funny one. Which, hold on, let me go over.
I've got a few while you're looking, because the ones of the Harvard Business Review seem to be more like focused on business, but there's leaders in all types of organizations and groups of people. So one of the ones I was looking at was risk taking versus risk aversion. Those seem like paradoxical. You just opposite ends of the spectrum of risky business. We want our leaders to take risks, to be effective, to, do challenging things and do great things with, by taking risks. But a lot of people want leaders who also are risk adverse, who want to keep the status quo, who want to keep a good thing going, and not rock the boat because change is scary and risk is risky. So that seems to be one of the paradoxes of being a leader, where you've got two different groups of people who want you to be two different, types of leader when it comes to risk and handling risk.
I think in that space, as you're sharing too, sometimes we're forced, if we are too risk averse, we can be forced into situations where we have to and we have less choices, or we can become obsolete because we're not willing, and we become sort of immovable and incapable of going with new things in the times, right?
Mm-hmm. So then there's a risk to being risk adverse then.
I think so. And it's like, I think it becomes a sort of, if too much of anything, right? Too much of being risky and too much of being risk averse, it becomes its own sort of, like self-eating monster, where if you're too far down one side or too far down the other, it ends up being destructive. And so it becomes about finding that balance and knowing when and taking risks when the opportunity is best for you, if you can, and trying to find that, right?
I was thinking when you were saying that, you didn't say to be safe, you said risk averse, right? To not risk is to be safe. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing. It's to know the balance of when to and when not to. And I think that's everybody's fear of doing it wrong. Just like when you're saving money and wanting it to grow, but you don't want it to be too risky to lose it all. Kind of the same
and
thing.
Investing, yeah.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I think a lot of our coaches can relate to this example. We've had a lot of coaches that are in a good business. They're in a good thing, right? They're working a 9 to 5. They're a little tired of it though. They want to try coaching out. They want to do something new. They come through the program. They take that step, but then they get too scared to leave or flex into this coaching space, and they end up sort of never taking that risk. and they get the training, they go through the whole process, and then they stop because they overwhelm themselves and the risk becomes too much for them. And it's a little sad because now they've missed out on opportunity. And something they really wanted to do, and they're just doing what's comfortable and what they know. And then the folks that I think they're really successful are the ones that figure out how to find out a little bit how to do both until they figure out where they want to fall and if they want this to fully be their thing, and then they're willing to take bigger risks. But I think it's baby stepping if you can to, if at all possible. I think it has to be possible. What do you guys think with taking risks, like in this realm? This is just sheer opinion and conjecture, right?
Yeah.
Is it dangerous to leverage everything to take a big risk? Should you always have a backup plan or something else? What are your thoughts?
I think risk is definitely necessary, but I also agree that having a secondary or backup is important too. Because I'm not a huge risk taker, but I definitely, for myself, know that I've done a lot of risk that's out of my comfort zone, and that it's been challenged mostly successfully, but now and again not so successfully.
So I would call it a safety net.
Yeah. Safety net, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe having a safety net does allow a new coach to take a little more risk, knowing they have something to fall back on.
There's that we brought it up. There's a sense of balance where you can't. I don't think that's a great idea, is to just risk it all. You certainly want to have something to potentially fall back on, because you risk it all and then lose it all. Then you can't even be risk. You can't even try and be subtle on the risk that you take. Now you have to go all in every time. I mean, potentially that's kind of, how I see it is at that point, now you're really got to be risky to get back in the game.
And I find it interesting that we're speaking about risk and also trust when we're speaking on this paradoxical concept of business leadership. And all of that, it's interesting how it is very influential with decision making as well.
I was thinking about risk in the terms of like, I think of like games or like a sports team.
I was thinking
in some sort of situation where it is like a winner takes all like environment where a leader leads a group of people and it's a zero-sum game. And sometimes you just do have to risk it all to actually, achieve the results you want. I guess it's knowing what. I mean, it's. Oh, go on, Jerome.
That's a really good example because with sports, I mean, you should be risk adverse throughout the game because there's a right way to play it. If you are risk adverse the entire game, then it comes down to the end of the game where you have to take big giant risk to potentially win that game or just. I think that's a great example.
And then that comes with, I guess, the trust of your teammates or the people you're working with to trust that, okay, we're making a big risk here. Let's go for it and follow your lead, even though, you could lose it all. A cat is going crazy. Moving on from risk, what about freedom versus control? I am somewhat expected to let my team members have a bit of freedom, make their own decisions, be autonomous. But at the same time, I got to have control and give clear directions and have a clear sort of mission that guides the rest of the team. So where the paradox comes from is like, where am I stifling creativity and where am I just being an assertive, I guess, leader and making assertive choices for my team?
I think that ties really well into taking risk and being risk adverse. Honestly, it's just on the other end. Or I guess kind of allowing your freedom to do what they want can be risky. And then if you aren't giving them the freedom to first, obviously, to be risky, then that would be on the risk adverse. And I think it's really similar.
I think it's really a blend of all of it. I mean, you have to empower your team, but you have to also educate the team in a way that they understand what their goal, job, whatever the concept is. And you have to provide that space as a leader to follow them as well, right? So as they are trailblazing ahead with the task, you are keeping an eye and finding out, paying attention if there's any holes in there that need to be addressed, those blind spots kinds of concepts. But when you don't allow the team, it's kind of, I think, my philosophy, when you don't allow that team to take charge of how the process, it seems short-sighted and non-empowering.
Which could lead to other issues such as like micromanaging.
Yeah.
And being so involved in the team that you're focusing on the day-to-day stuff and not thinking long-term. And then you're shirking all of your other duties as a leader because of it.
Yeah. I think as well.
Yeah, Brooke.
I think as well as a leader, and again, I mean, we can always circle this back to coaching too. At some point, we have to allow our people, our team, to make mistakes. Like, we have to allow for that. Like, that has to be okay, and like, you have to be willing to like step back and let the mistakes happen so that they can figure out the solutions and figure out that they can problem solve on their own, that they can and are capable of creating a solution when maybe their mistake happens. And I think that can be one of the hardest things for us to do as leaders, is to step back and allow our team to struggle for a minute so that then they can come out of it stronger and come out of it having figured it out.
While we're talking leadership, it's parenting as well. What you just described is parenting skills. It's allowing our children to make those mistakes, fall down, get up, find out their resilience, or as we've spoken about, that anti-fragile concept. And in the leadership space, it's the same thing. You're allowing that and planning for failure while hoping for success.
Well, and it's not even planning, I guess, yes, it's to some degree planning for failure, but allowing for failure so that they can figure it out. And that for me is a coaching concept right there, right? That is, we can provide tools, we can do training, but at some point you have to back away and let the mistakes happen and let them be the ones to be the solution, problem solvers. And the cool thing about it is there's problems that the way they solve it might be better, might be more awesome than what we came up with. I think of our certificate template, right? I created something, I put it together quickly. It was a solution, but then Daisy came in and was like, I can make this better. And she hit some bumps on the road, but it was like, okay, go for it. And she ended up automating a whole process around it. And that's pretty darn cool. Like, and that was something that we could have said, hey, no, but no, it would let it happen. And she had her own mistakes on the way, but she came up with her solutions. And I think that's such a cool thing. Absolutely. It's Lisa and I have at one point or another done everything in this business. Absolutely everything. And each step of the way, as we've hired in people, we've had to allow for other people to come in and do the jobs we used to do, and then allow for them to adapt them to the way that is best for them. And I think it's so cool to see the process. And yeah, there are moments it gets a little scary because I have no clue what the process is between Anthony and Jen anymore. And if they weren't here, what the crap would we do? We'd have to figure it out pretty quickly. When I used to be, Lisa and I used to be the ones to make those processes, and now you guys have your own process. I don't even know what it is. I'm glad I don't know. But
I can tell whenever you guys run registrations and I don't. That
And I can tell when you run payroll and Brooke doesn't.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
How can you tell? It's like the easiest thing. It's like 3 steps. I messed up somewhere then.
So, and what we're doing right now is just having fun with each other. That's part of a group of leaderships, being in leadership roles, who can laugh at themselves over some of the silly bits and pieces of what we do. But having I think of some big corporations who have switched over to coaching who didn't. They really ruled their ruse with a dictatorship kind of behavior. And as they have now been working towards switching the role styles of what leadership means in the companies, that before and after have a whole different way of running things, a whole different way of empowering the people that work for them to feel like they can contribute to the company in a way that they couldn't before. So that helps with, one, keeping people working with you, and two, allowing the ownership of that, whatever they're working towards, to feel proud of themselves and just continue contributing in that fashion. The growth has been phenomenal from those companies that allowed that.
That kind of reminds me of situations I've encountered. It's a little divergent, but it kind of leads into it. Have you guys ever worked with somebody who both wanted to be liked and respected by their I guess their team, and they're in like a
Yes.
supervisor role.
Yes.
It's very weird. It was very weird for me in those situations. It's also scary because you don't
know what you can get away with sometimes.
Well, I don't.
You don't know how much to open up or like be cool with this person.
Okay, but wait. Why are they mutually exclusive? Why can't I like someone and respect them at the same time? Like, why is that because I respect most of the people I like.
Well, I think Anthony's talking about that article that we had where that the two gentlemen worked together, and then the one rose to a higher supervising position, and then hi Kathleen, sorry I got sidetracked, and then started to rattle on his friend to be good in the higher ups. So that can be really uncomfortable. That is really a boundary misplacement for sure.
Well, I think it's a paradox that a lot of supervisors fall into, like as a trap, where they want to be liked and they want to be respected at the same time, and they don't really know how to go about it. And I'm thinking particularly of a specific supervisor I had who was probably 2 levels above where I was at in pay grade and like responsibilities, who would try to be cool and hang out with the people that he's working with, but everybody was a little on edge around him because we couldn't break through that barrier. It's we have to respect him as well, and just we can't be at that level, the same camaraderie, I guess.
Well, I think that on some level that's I feel a little bad for the guy on some level, right?
No, I did, because I could see he wanted to be liked and he wanted to have friends, but
also he has to realize too that the same what's going on with everybody around him too, and that at some point he has to be the one that has to have the difficult conversation, or has to, right? About any of these things. But I don't think it's not possible to sort of be able to move through those 2 lines as long as you're respecting boundaries. And I think as the employee too, and I think as you get older, it becomes a little easier too. As you're getting those situations more and more, your give a shit breaks a little bit, and you realize that what I say right now and in this situation really shouldn't have a huge amount of bearing on my work and what's going on with my work. And as long as that's solid, then I can to some degree. But we always are abiding by social standards, right? We know amongst some people what we can get away with, and with other people what we can, and it's just sort of knowing your audience, right?
I mean, we could say that we know it. I've seen plenty of examples where that people just didn't know, and
they just don't know their
it
audience.
bit them in the ass later.
Well, that's a bummer. And I guess that's it's a big part of that is boundary, right? Are we setting boundaries? Are we communicating our boundaries? Are we?
That's another paradox right there. Are you open and transparent, and or are you setting boundaries and discreet?
Well, I think that if I'm going to respect somebody, they're going to be able to set some boundaries, right? For me, because I don't want to I appreciate boundaries, right?
Well, then I'm thinking more so maybe a good example to use would be government roles or leadership positions in government. We both fully expect our leaders to be transparent because they're in a public office, but there's also part of the job is having discretion and maybe keeping secrets for public safety reasons. I'm more on the transparency side of those sort of arguments, but I can see reasonably why that is a paradox, being a leader, and people have different expectations.
I'll also say though, we as human beings or people anybody who's a public figure, even celebrity and things like that, I think that we have some really unreasonable expectations of those people. A lot of people have really unreasonable expectations of people in leadership roles, and they almost feel like put them in places where they're on pedestals, and it's not fair to those folks. I mean, we should be realistic as human beings, and if so and so is,
I was going to ask though, what
fair, or so and so is gay, or so and so is this or that, who gives a crap? It's separate from what they're doing in their business. I get, though, it really comes up when they're saying one thing and doing another, and that's when I think it becomes real sticky. But I think that we should all be a little more forgiving of what people do in their personal lives when they're outside of that leadership role. And mind you, as long as their whole leadership stance isn't, doing one thing and then they go behind doors and do that thing.
But I can like think of like a lot of people who have the exact opposite like point of view towards leaders in that regard. Like their personal life is a representation of the person I'm like wanting to be a leader.
I know, and that's so weird to me, because I just feel like we should let them be whatever they're going to be behind closed doors. If their business is good, their business, you know what I mean? If they're doing good business, I mean, mind you, within reason, not breaking the law, etc., and all those things. But why does it come into play? is my question, truly.
Because a lot of the times you get to choose your leaders. Sometimes you don't. Most of the time you don't. And then really, you can't really give a crap about what they do behind closed doors.
You can care about what they're influenced by, because if they're going to be voting and making choices
on your behalf as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not the closed doors thing. That's none of my business, but the influence, their stratospheres of influence. That's what I want to be more aware of. Same thing with any leader. What are their stratospheres of interest and influence that are going to have them make different decisions? Is it in alignment? Is it not in alignment? Anyway.
So a paradox that we as a coach might manage as in our coaching role, and as we're talking through this, it just popped into my head, is our ability to be empathetic and be encourage vulnerability, be vulnerable, and do all those things as a coach. And validate as well, balanced with our own judgment and balanced with our own bias and insecurity. And also, if in this case we have a leader, he's walking in, we know what he wants to do on one end, but we also see this behind the scenes side of him.
Or
her, yeah, them. It could be a weird situation in which we might feel a bit of that paradox, a bit of that rub as a coach, where we are capable of being empathetic and kind and understanding to a human being whose choices we may not agree with or we may not do ourselves. And how do we manage that? I mean, we've talked about how we manage it a ton of times, but
that's on the coach's job, is to hold space for the paradox.
Yeah.
And it's not either or, it's both. It's both and.
Yeah. Oh, both and.
Kind of to maybe stick to the topic of leadership. I was kind of thinking about this, wondering, is the coach a leader?
Yes.
Yes.
I will say yes.
I think so too.
We talk about like the client leads the session.
I think they're both.
Mm-hmm.
Both and.
Both and. Yeah, I think they're a leader as well as a follower.
When does a coach lead? I guess I'm not asking leading questions. Like things we obviously don't do, but when is a coach in the role of a leader in the coaching relationship?
It's
I think they.
Oh. Wait, we're all talking.
I'll be quiet.
Go ahead, Jerome.
I was going to say I think they lead in the space of exploring options. They're not necessarily leading you to a particular solution, but they are leading in the event that the client is stuck and they don't know where to go. They're leading them in realizing their available options.
To me, the coach is holding an energetic leadership. So when the client is sharing something and they are having emotions come up about it, it's the coach's job to have that energetic leadership and stay grounded and stay present and not, dive into the pool with them. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's so terrible. No, the coach has energetic leadership in that space, I believe.
We are focused on the overall goal. Mind you, our client tells us what that is. Our client leads us to what is the goal of the session? What is the overall goal of our work together? And that becomes our focus as a leader, right? That is our job as a coach, is to lead our client to those goals, and to do so by coaching. And that means asking questions. That means creating plans. That means identifying those blocks. That means renegotiate, being there so that we can maneuver past or go maneuver through, adapt and move through. But ultimately we come into it with a framework as a coach. And that means that this is our coaching. We are a coach. This is my space. I've created it for you. Welcome to it. Welcome to our coaching space. Now it becomes ours as you come in. But when you leave, I am still the coach. I am still that leader. I am still here, and I've got this education, right? This education of coaching that ultimately allows us to lead our clients to what they need, where they want to go, what they want to work on us with. And maybe lead is a scary word, but I think it's what a good leader does is we are able to sit down, look at what the end goal is, and keep us focused on it, and then let let whatever is going on take its course, but always keeping the focus, our eye is on that end goal. Our eye is on that. And with that, because we, as the coach, once we've established it with our client, know that end goal, it allows our client to explore, and it takes some pressure off, and it allows them to open up and be able to lose their way, but know that the focus will come back.
Yes. Well
because
said.
when they're on their own, they rabbit holes and distractions and all of these things. So absolutely. It's both and. I think that beautifully said.
So it's less leadership as in like the dynamic between a leader and a follower. That's not the coaching relationship.
Right.
It's someone who's leading, I guess, towards the goal set by the client. And the client is leading in the sense that they know what their goals are, and they're the one who's going to come up with a plan and solution, and they're directing how to get to that goal that they set for themselves, with the coach is sort of maybe providing like the guide rails, like the boundaries of what is in the coaching session, what's outside the coaching session.
Yes.
Think of it like as GPS.
Yeah.
The client comes in, they plug in the destination with you, but there's a myriad of different ways they can get there. They could walk, they can run, they can take a boat, they can take a bus, they can take a car, they can all of these things, but
Take the scenic route.
But the GPS, we know they've plugged in GPS that we're going to be there to go, hey, this is where our end goal is. I mean, it might take long, it might take short, it might take, a ton of different things. We might stop at the gas station, but we are, at the end of the day, that they've plugged in their address and they know they're going to get there. Is GPS our leader? No.
It is mine. I thank God that
Yeah, very, very rarely.
get to use it.
Man, but when it first came out, it used to malfunction all the time. You ended up driving in circles.
You had to do MapQuest and like print out the directions.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Those were the days.
Yeah, I remember MapQuest.
For sure. Thomas Guide.
Oh, man, Thomas Guide. Turn the page. Oh, gosh.
You've
I
lost
could
me at
always
Tom's
get
Guide.
there, but coming home was always an issue.
Trying to explain a Thomas Guide to anybody in their 20s and under 20, like, it's like just glazed. What?
Yep.
We used to keep a spiral bound book underneath our seat.
Yep.
A big one.
Yep.
I just think it just went from maps to MapQuest. There's no in between, no Tom.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You just have the map, you unfold, and you have it open while you're driving.
No, not the way. And then we really relied on like pulling over and being able to go into a store and ask somebody, how
we
do
had to
I
ask for directions all the time.
Yeah, it used to be a thing. Or you'd have to hand write out all the directions. Or if you were throwing a party, you made darn sure directions were included in that party invitation. Now everybody just plugs it in. So we're talking through all of this, and I think that we've talked a lot about paradox. We only have a few minutes left. Let's bring it into this coaching space with working with clients who feel like they're struggling with the paradox. I think that both and concept is something that's really powerful.
I'm gonna be the dissenting voice.
Okay.
It's gonna probably annoy the hell out of a lot of people.
Well, I'm gonna finish my final thought, and then you can be the dissenting voice.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, I could see we have a client coming in and feeling trapped by a paradox, and I think that as a coach, it could be very powerful would be very powerful to help our clients realize it's both and situations, to be able to navigate the gray and realize that your hands aren't tied by that paradox if you find a balance in it. Anthony, yes.
So when people find themselves stuck in a paradox and they're uncomfortable with it, I think it's also part of a symptom of saying it can be both and. You can have it both ways. You can live in the gray. There's a lot of leaders out there who don't even think that way. There's no paradox to be had because you're on one side and there's the other side. And I'm not messing around with the other side. I know what I want. And sometimes it might be just a relief to just say, I'm going to be this way. I understand logically that I could try to have it both ways. I might be stuck in a paradox and I might be very uncomfortable and I might have to work through it. But I, as a leader, know which hills to die on and what things I should work on and other things that I can I'm going to be this type of leader. I'm sticking to my guns and I'll, worry about other things. So sometimes you can resolve the paradox by not getting yourself in the paradox to begin with.
I heard a paradox in what you just described, though.
Nope. No, we're moving on to
You
Jerome.
said, I know which hill to die on, and I know what to learn more about, or something like that.
Something. I mean, I know which hill to die on in terms of I know maybe what I should fight for and what I should work on and what I should, try to find a balance. And I know also what I should just, stick to one side of because I'm comfortable with it. It's what I know works. And as a leader, I'm expected to, just get work done. I got to get shit done.
But I think that what you're talking about is balance.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it!
So
You got me.
We're talking about what you think you're talking about.
there's an entrepreneur that I really look up to. I know a little bit about him, not much. Richard Branson. I always feel like he's an amazing entrepreneur who he's the risk taker. He's the one that lives on the edge. He's the one but he has the team that keeps him grounded. So that paradox of being able to get out there and yet still have the home base for support. I think he's explored so many amazing things, but he's held such an attitude that for me, I feel like I really look up to that stance that he has put out there.
I feel like that's what you do, Lisa. Right?
Which place?
You lead like that. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jerome, final thoughts?
I think when it comes to paradoxes, you have to be careful. I think they're unavoidable, and I think you want a healthy paradox as opposed to any paradox. And what I mean by that is, we're speaking about balance. I love balance. That's my MO. I try and live everything with balance. I think you that as a paradox. An unhealthy paradox is fighting against the grain and trying to go one way or the other without coming to a realization that they both can coexist. I think it's a very thing to keep in mind. Stressing a healthy paradox because sometimes they're just unavoidable.
All right, that should wrap up our live on Leadership Coaching 101, the leadership paradox.
We're going to talk about Acme a little bit?
Yeah, let's quickly talk about
I forgot about that.
that.
Okay.
So we have Acme coming up for alumni. Any alumni watching? Tickets go on sale on Friday. And
They go on
it's gonna
sale.
be awesome.
Yeah, they're gonna go on sale Friday, and then if you sit around and wait too long, then the deadline to buy them for $49, which is the early bird price, is going to be June 30th. And July 1st, they shoot up to $99, so you're going to want to make sure.
Actually, they go 79, and then August 1st they go up to
79. Good catch.
I think we're gonna sell out before we even
They're
get
not, yeah, we're not going to get there. They're going to
Yeah.
sell out at 49.
soon.
Also, the
No,
main
you
thing
never-
as well, we
Okay.
get 3 CCEs when you participate and join.
So yes,
ICF CCEs, 3 of them.
you get 3 CCE hours from ICF for attending the event, which is pretty awesome. So that email is going to go out tomorrow as well to everybody to give the details. But yes, it is accredited training.
To see 3 of our CLCI facilitators in action, live coaching, you might be able to be coached in it.
As a
And
client.
Yep, you might be able to be the client being coached, and then you're going to see a debrief of the coaching, so a deconstruction of the coaching, and you're going to see 3 different coaches, 3 different styles. It's going to be amazing.
3 different topics.
Yep.
And we're going to be choosing the clients from those early bird ticket buyers who opt in to be a client, and we'll pick. The coaches are going to pick who their clients are. So, yeah, woohoo!
And you'll be connected with all the staff and all the alumni. It'll be so fun.
Everybody's going to be there.
So we do have limited seats. What did we say? We got
Only 100 spots.
100
Yeah.
spots. We're not taking any more. So if you're the 101, so sorry. We're not taking
If you're on
any
a
more.
wait list, we'll have to have a wait list for
Yeah.
in case people.
And if you
Back
can't make it live, you will get a replay. So if you
Yeah, you
can't
get to
make
watch
it
it.
live,
Don't tell them that yet, Jen. Don't tell them that.
Ooh, secret. Golden secret.
Stop alive!
oh no, God,
I'm kidding.
I'm fired.
Stop the leaking.
Um,
All right.
So we're gonna sign off. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you know anybody who might like this video and might like to know more about coaching, share this with them. And also check out Certified Life Coach Institute. We are one of the best by several different people who have said we are. Forbes, Business Insider, Very Well Mind. I mean, come on, it's got to mean something. So check us out. We certify coaches in 3 days, and we love what we do. So,
All right. See you guys.
bye.
Hi guys.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Once again, this is brought to you by Certified Life Coach Institute. We're an ICF accredited school who certifies our life coaches in 3-day online intensive courses. In addition to other podcast episodes, feel free to check us out every Tuesday at 4:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube or Facebook for our CLCI Lives, where we get together and discuss various topics that are centered around sharpening your skills so you can become a better certified life coach. For more information, feel free to visit us at certifiedlifecoachinstitute.com. Until next time, be well.